We are we are good to go. Welcome everybody to Jacobs Media's review of CES 2026, powered by Q. I like saying that, powered by Q. That kind of sounds powerful, doesn't it? Anyhow, we really appreciate you all being here. We have a lot to share with you. Let me introduce you to our commentators as we walk you through the latest and greatest from Las Vegas just a few weeks ago. My partner in crime, Paul Jacobs, is on the scene here and has put a lot of time and a lot of work into this presentation. And thank you, Paul, for all you do. Chris Brunt, who is our Director of Digital Revenue and Mr. AI in the company. Chris joined us out in Las Vegas for the thrills and spills of CES once again this year and has got a great perspective on a lot of this. So welcome, Chris. Glad you're here. And our special guest this year, none other than Steve Newberry, who I think many of you know these days, the highly visible and very successful CEO of Q Interactive. I refer to Steve oftentimes as a metadata maven. I think that's pretty accurate. Steve, thanks for being here today.
Glad to be here. Thanks, guys. It's been a real treat.
Yeah, we've had fun. This was a very different CES. For me and Paul, this is, I think, I don't know, 16 or something in a row. We've been going since around 2009, and they all kind of take on a character or a flavor all their own. In the early years, it was about gadgetry and cars. We are now in a more conceptual zone, as I'm sure you've read either our blogs or other webinars we've been on, or just basic coverage of CES. A more conceptual conference this year because of AI. So we're going to do our best to kind of explain to you where we think AI is at the moment. It is moving very quickly. It was the star of CES last year and to some degree the year before, but things have changed quite a bit in that period of time. So navigating CES is always a treat. We finally have gotten to the point where we've made every conceivable mistake in Las Vegas during CES week, and we kind of have it down. We even get to go to a kind of I don't know, what would you call it, underground preview the day before the conference actually begins, which gives us an opportunity to actually see what's in the exhibit hall while they're still setting up. So there's these high-low trucks driving around and they're laying carpet, but we're getting an idea of what all the exhibiting companies are up to. The photo on my right is myself and Jerry Lee, who is our mentor in all of this. You know, we think we're cool because we've been going to CES now for, 15 or so years. Jerry's been going for more like 55 years. And I know I've shared this story with many of you before, but a number of years ago, I asked Jerry, why do you do this? Why do you go to CES every year? Because it's not easy. And I can tell you personally, the older you get, the more arduous a journey it is. It's tough. And Jerry's response just came in a flash, which was, I go because I don't want to miss the future. And that really sums it up for all of us regulars who go every year. There's a lot of technology going on out there, but the key is connecting the dots and looking around the corner, seeing what technology is just on the surface, and then establishing evidence for how the radio broadcasting industry is likely to be impacted by this. So it's quite the process. Las Vegas, particularly the Las Vegas Convention Center, which you see here, has really come a long way. That's West Hall on the left, which is as spacious as it looks. But on the right is what they've been working on for the past couple of years. And you will see it if you go to the NAB this spring. It is the new entranceway for kind of North Hall and Central Hall. It's that Central Plaza area that kind of sits out there, but it's beautiful and it's really nice to see progress. CES, as I think a lot of you know, though, is not confined to just the LVCC. It takes up a lot of casino and hotel space all over the place. And a new exhibit this year was CES Foundry, which Steve is going to talk about in some detail. It is headquartered in the brand new and gorgeous Fontainebleau Hotel.
And just to
Uh,
put the whole thing in a little bit of perspective, this year there were between 145 and 150,000 attendees. There were over 4,000 exhibitors, including 1,100 at Eureka Park. We were there for what, 3.5 days? And I
right.
bet we probably covered, what do you think, Fred, 40%?
I think you're high.
Yeah.
And that is part of the game with CES. You just have to accept the idea that you're not going to see everything. But if you get out there with a plan, and we I think had a pretty good plan this year, especially with four of us running around, we were able to divide and sort of conquer and really see a lot of different things. So we're going to do our best to communicate that. So obviously, we see some amazing stuff, and we're going to talk about that. But we also see some crap because not everything is what you would call a great innovation. So those of you who are veterans of these presentations know that we always start out with a feature. It's one of our benchmarks. I hope Steve Reynolds is on here to appreciate this. It's one of our benchmarks, worst in show. So we're going to start out by showing you some things that we thought weren't particularly wonderful. And the audience participation part of our show this year is that you actually get to vote on the innovation that you think is lamest. So let's start out. Paul, we need to advance. There we go. So yes, there's our cover slide there for worst in show. Yeah, there's just a lot of technology. Unfortunately, I mean, everybody does their best, but there is technology where you kind of go, wow, does the world really need this? So let's start out with number one. The first thing we have designated is an innovation, and I use that phrase carefully, called Lollipop Star. And Lollipop Star is a candy audio experience. So already you're kind of going, what? When you actually bite into the lollipop part, music actually starts playing through this whole bone induction technology. But it is a device that they call a single-use candy. So once you have used it once, basically it lasts about an hour, and then you throw the whole thing away. So that was Lollipop Star. I guess to their credit, a lot of people were buzzing about it, but kind of not in the most positive way.
They got mentioned. Actually, Jimmy Fallon and Questlove were chewing on these right after CES, so they got some free content out of it.
Well, see, that is part of this as well, because, right, all publicity is good publicity, sort of. And then number two is just one company out of many. It's Olabot in this case. You're going to see a lot of robots in the next 40 minutes or so because that was once again a big part of CES. And the whole idea of robots being companions, which has frankly been part of literature for many, many years. The old sci-fi writers saw it that way. But Olabot is a robot companion for children. And the basic premise on Olabot is that you purchase it for your baby, for your infant, for your toddler, and Olabot becomes a companion like a pet that the kid carries with him or her for years and years and years. So I'm not going to go into a whole moralistic Is this healthy for children? I'm going to let you decide whether you think this sounds like the kind of thing that people should be focusing on at this point. Is this a real good use of the AI technology? I don't think so. But let's see what you think. And then finally, one of the biggest exhibitors at CES, just to show you that no one is perfect, Samsung, which has one of the biggest footprints at CES, although they did move this year, and maybe that had a little something to do with this. But this is their AI fridge. And so you're probably snickering already. AI was obviously branded to just about every exhibit we saw. So just the name of it isn't really the thing. But this is a refrigerator without handles. This is a refrigerator that you talk to. And so you go open sesame and the refrigerator doors open. And you go close sesame and the refrigerator doors close. That's assuming that the technology is working all of the time. Samsung kind of has a history of making refrigerators that don't do necessarily all the things that are promised. And this thing, I mean, again, I guess the question is, do we really need a refrigerator that talks to us and uses AI to keep track of the food that we have in the device? So those are our three innovations. And now you actually get to vote on which one you think is lamest, Lollipop Star, the Olabot, or the Samsung AI fridge. And you're doing a great job. The votes are pouring in, and I must
Wow.
say it's pretty close. So we're going to kind of let this play out a bit here just to make sure if you haven't voted yet, you still have an opportunity to participate in democracy, which is kind of cool. I think, well, no, they're still rolling in. Wow,
Down the stretch they come.
we have a lot of votes here, which is really good. It's nice to see that many precincts are reporting here. Wow. Okay. I think we have winners and losers here. However, we want to do that. In third place is the AI fridge by Samsung, so they're probably happy to hear that. In second place is the Olabot robot for children. And I wish I would have put some money down on this because I just had this feeling that you would vote Lollipop Star as the worst in show. And in fact, you did it at 45%. So thank you for participating in our viewer participation poll. Let's talk about what we're going to actually get into today from a substantive standpoint. Can we make that thing go away? 'Cause,
I did.
oh, okay, because I see it on my screen. I
It
just
should
want
be
to.
gone. So can
Okay.
anybody guess what the number one main theme was from CES?
Yeah. Yes, it was. You know, we've joked that if this was a drinking game, we would have been all hammered in the first 12 minutes of being on the floor of CES. But yeah, there's no question that this is all about AI. As you'll see, though, the difference between this year, last year, and the year before, if you go back to 2024, AI was everywhere, but kind of, in the ether. People were sort of talking about it in kind of very general terms. Last year, AI was being used liberally, but probably as much as a marketing ploy as it was any kind of innovation. This year, we saw AI at work. We actually saw AI applied, and in many cases, in fascinating and I would say responsible ways. So we're going to focus on the AI that we saw that we think was extremely effective. So that is going to be a big part of our theme. And we hope we are able to kind of get across how we were able to think about AI specifically from a broadcaster point of view. Uh, Speaking of broadcasters, where were you? There really were fewer radio folks at CES this year than in the past dozen years or so. And I'm sure there's a lot of reasons why, and the economy certainly being a big one. A lot of us had tough years last year, not a lot of T&E to spend at the end of the year, beginning of the year, whatever the case may be. But we're going to hopefully make the case today that there are innovations and things happening where radio is being left out by not participating and being a part of the mix. This isn't just about gadgetry or, again, the ethereal AI. There is a lot of commerce happening at CES, and we're going to show you some interesting scenes from the ARIA C space and what Paul likes to call the $1 billion mosh pit. So we'll cover that. Where are the cars? I mean, just a few short years ago, if you were one of the broadcasters who has made the tour with us in the past, there were always three or four OEMs, original equipment manufacturers, car makers, that were on hand. Usually, all three members of the big three here in the US would be there: Toyota, Honda, Mercedes-Benz, all on hand. Everyone that I just mentioned was not around this year. And in fact, it was really difficult to find cars, at least from the car manufacturer point of view, out there. So we're going to talk about why we think that has changed over time and, again, the implications on radio. Yeah, where are the cool gadgets? You know, when you think about CES, I think most of us, whether you've been there or not, always think about the latest and greatest technology. And not to say there wasn't a lot of cool gadgetry there, there was. You know, there were television screens the size of a king-size mattress. For those of you who need them that large, and other interesting things, but certainly no longer the focal point of this show. Oftentimes, we would be asked at the end of CES, what was the coolest gadget you saw? And even those questions are tailing off because that's really not what CES has sort of evolved into, at least at this point. That doesn't mean that it won't cycle back to that at some point, but AI has really sort of eaten that to a great degree and dominated the conversation. Steve's going to talk about things that he picked up at the Foundry, which again is the new exhibit at the Fontainebleau that I mentioned before. Clearly, the physical manifestation of AI and some interesting panel conversations and exhibits over at the Foundry. And then finally, you know, as we've already teased a little bit, robotics, just a huge part of CES and not all frivolous at all. There's no question that robots are going to be a part of our world. They already are from a manufacturing standpoint, but clearly the confluence of AI and robotics, really, really important stuff. So that's our agenda. We've got a lot to cover. Obviously, we're going to kick this off with AI and try to put that in perspective for you. What you're looking at here, by the way, is will.i.am. A lot of you, I think, know will.i.am from the Black Eyed Peas, but as we covered last year, he is very involved in where AI and radio meet. He has created, in essence, his own radio product, and we spent a lot of time in will.i.am land, which, by the way, is LG. That's his innovative partner for his radio network. It is also, he has a show on Sirius XM as well. But will.i.am is actually doing some really fascinating stuff that shows you that there clearly is a mashup available between AI and what we do in radio. The other thing that we hope to dispel today, I know a lot of people think about AI and radio in terms of it's just going to take our jobs. I mean, that's what's going to happen here. DJs are going to be replaced with robots, and salespeople are going to be replaced, and program directors. And I mean, look, there's no question this is big technology that is evolving, and we don't know where it's going to come out. And we do know that clearly the way that jobs are described and parsed out are indeed going to be affected by AI. But the impact of this technology goes well beyond replacing us. And our take is that if we approach this in a smart, strategic way, there's going to be a place for all of us here. We just have to figure out how this new technology can really work for and benefit our business. So, yeah, just from the branding standpoint, I touched on this before. I mean, everywhere you looked, if an exhibit did not have the letters AI attached to it, somebody in the marketing department was not doing his or her job. So, and as you can see here, AI attached to every normal home appliance here. Clearly, some of these applications, like we were talking about with the fridge by Samsung, are not going to eventually make the cut. But no question, everything is getting smarter as a result of AI technology. It's also getting a lot better. If you remember, I believe 3 years ago, we ran across this exhibit where William Shatner was set up in terms of a kind of AI exhibit where you could ask him all kinds of questions about his career and Star Trek. And the responses were recorded. The inventors for the William Shatner technology anticipated many of the questions that you would ask. So it appeared to be interactive, but in fact, it was kind of staged. Well, now you segue that with what we saw this year at CES. This is a company that creates these bots, and here's Leonardo da Vinci. And you really can't tell from the likeness here, but I mean, all down to the wrinkles. I mean, he looks really good. What's really cool is how he sounds and reasons. And there's a microphone there, and I peppered him with questions about what was Mona Lisa really like, and what just all kinds of weird sideways things. And he was responding to them quickly and effectively. And it was really impressive technology just to see how far we've come in just a couple of years. You can probably speak to some of this if you were one of the early adopters to Chat GPT when it came out 3 years ago. It's a different platform today than it was when it first came out. And so we saw a lot of improvement with AI as we went through this. So we're going to talk about just some of the basic AI themes here and the whole agentic AI piece. I think is probably a good place to start. Chris, can you give us a walkthrough here of what agentic AI is and why this is important?
Agentic AI is kind of like AI 2.0. It's AI that takes actions on its own. It doesn't just answer questions, but it can actually make plans, carry out steps. LG in their keynote presentation showed agentic AI, where the AI said, "Oh, you were sick last night. I have prepared some chicken noodle soup based on the ingredients in the refrigerator."
Pretty smart stuff.
Yeah.
Now, some people are creeped out by this, right?
Yes, they are.
Right. I mean, it's the whole wait, does the AI know me too well? So
Mhm.
I think that's clearly one of the questions at this point is do we want this in our lives? AI that can actually predict that it's time for chicken soup? Or is this going to be something that we are going to evolve into, especially our kids, um, whose lives will be AI constant? So as part of that was this whole idea of AI as companion. And this was a phrase that we heard again and again and again at CES, which always tells us there's something going on. When you start hearing words and themes repeated again and again, you know there's clearly a trend happening here. So, what a lot of people talked about with AI is this idea that you've got, your best spot forever sitting in the passenger seat, anticipating your moods, whether it's the music that you're listening to, or maybe you're getting hungry and our robot companion says, "Hey, Paul, I know last week you ate at this particular restaurant and you had a really nice veal piccata. That's a special again tonight. Would you like me to make a reservation for you?" So this AI as companion piece is important, and I think the way it translates to radio is that we have been people's companions for decades and decades and decades. I know you've all heard Bob Pittman refer to broadcast radio as the companion medium, and in fact, it always has been. But there's no question with AI that is part of what is going on here. Paul, do you want to elaborate on this? Because I know this was something you thought about quite a bit.
Yeah, I definitely got off on this. I'll tell you what, Fred, in a couple of slides, we're going to look at SoundHound,
Yeah,
and
and
which takes this
we
to
can
that.
elaborate with what they're doing. All right, good.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll put a pin in that and come back. So yeah, this theme here that AI could actually be another entity in our meetings, in our brainstorms, in our strategy sessions, that type of thing. Not laying out the entire agenda, but letting the room ideate and do what it does, and then perhaps turning to AI and getting its reaction to what we've done and helping us put in perspective what we're actually trying to accomplish here. Chris, can you give us a little bit more detail on what this looks and feels like?
Yeah, it's taking all of the data that it has and internally and externally, summarizing it. And many of you are doing that now, stations with brainstorming sessions or putting together proposals or other packages. This is a very important part of AI, and we're seeing its influence become even greater and greater year over year.
And then there's something that I think, going into CES, maybe didn't anticipate, but it is the speed at which things are moving thanks to AI. And if you've used ChatGPT or other AI platforms, you know how quick they are. Their ability to be able to scrape through just so much information and synthesize it and come out with responses. Well, what this has basically done is put so many industries on a very fast moving conveyor belt. And a lot of companies talked about how AI is just speeding everything up. And one of the examples that we heard about when we first started going to CES, the automakers, who we were obviously visiting quite a bit in those days, always talked about the 5-year product cycle. And in essence, the message was, hey, it's CES 2012. Here's some technology that we're working on. That's the good news. The bad news is you're not going to see this in a car in a showroom until 2017. We're on a 5-year product cycle. And what we started hearing at CES 2026 is that 5-year product cycle has decelerated, if you will, down to 5 months. And one of the engineers that was on stage at the foundry talked about probably it's going to come down to 5 weeks. And so a lot of the conversation that we heard related to the way companies and organizations are structured. And in essence, what we heard was as a result of the speed at which things are moving, the more siloed or regimented in an organization, the more trouble it's going to have being able to negotiate the speed at which AI is moving. One of the things that occurred to us as a group when we actually started talking about acceleration here is that the radio industry in the past has oftentimes taken a wait and see attitude toward new technology, whether it's been streaming or podcasts or anything else. And the takeaway that we developed out of this was we can't be on the sidelines for this innovation. This is the real deal. One of the engineers that we talked to said AI is getting justifiable hype. And I thought that was a really interesting way of putting it. And then there's the physical AI. Let's talk a little bit about what that means. Paul, you want to jump on physical AI?
Yeah, I mean, it really ties a lot of this together because if AI through agentic is going to become responsive, imagine if you could take the response of making a reservation or, making dinner and add it to a thing like, let's say, a robot. And so the advancements in robots, not just through the technology, but through the layer of AI going into them, uh, really is elevating the game in a lot of ways. To go on that point, I mentioned SoundHound. So some of you might know SoundHound from the days they were kind of like Shazam Jr. It was a great way to identify the song you heard in a restaurant. Well, like so many companies, they've gone through a pivot and they have a new product called Agentic Plus. And we were really taken by this. The guy who demonstrated it for us, they have a partnership with Open Table. So as Fred talked about earlier, the AI knows where you've made reservations. So let's say you're driving along and it's your companion. You go, I'd like to have dinner Saturday night and make a reservation. And the AI goes, well, here are your 5 favorite restaurants. Would you like to choose one of them? And you go, I'd like to try something different. And the AI goes, well, here, I found 2 restaurants that are very similar, but you've never been to before, and they both have reservations at 7 o'clock. Would you like me to make a reservation? And we're just kind of sitting there going, oh my goodness. And they're telling us that it will also move into entertainment. One of their partners right now is Pandora. And so they envision the day where you're driving along and you hear a song on the radio and it goes to commercials and the AI goes, well, if you like that song, I can find it for you elsewhere. So obviously implications. I'm going to play you a short video where the representative from SoundHound kind of walks you through a few examples of what it does.
Here we have the demo itself is a collaboration with NVIDIA, who provided the Drive AGX Orin board, but inside is our Edge product. That's already doing our in-house speech recognition and natural language understanding. That we could all run on the CPU, but to leverage this really strong GPU, what we've now done is integrated an LLM sort of into that entire stack. So let me just show you how it works. You'll get a better sense of that. So you're sitting behind the panel in your car and you might go, show me nearby Italian restaurants sorted by price.
Here are some Italian restaurants within 15.
Navigate to the second one.
Navigating to Caro's Italian Cuisine.
Cancel navigation.
Stopped navigation.
Open all doors and increase the temperature.
Opening all doors. Increasing temperature by 2 degrees Celsius.
When do I need to change the engine oil? So now we're really hitting that LLM on board.
Engine oil in an EV like the Lucid Air, as it has no internal combustion engine.
What we've actually done is we've taken the Lucid Air car manual, we've ingested it, and we're letting the LLM answer any questions about operating the car. So that was one example. I could show you a few more. How far could I drive on a single charge?
The estimated range of the Lucid Air on a full charge is up to 517 miles.
What driving modes are available?
The Lucid Air offers different driving modes: smooth, swift, sprint, and limited.
Which of those would you recommend for a long trip?
I recommend smooth mode for a long trip as it provides a comfortable and efficient driving experience.
I'm actually planning a trip with my 2 kids to Reno. What are some fun things to do there?
Reno has the National Automobile Museum, Nevada Museum of Art, and the Reno.
So we're really getting those general knowledge questions hitting the LLM, and this whole setup was offline, so we don't need to hit any cloud to get answers to these questions, and really just getting those snappy, fast, offline responses.
So there you got a great example of AI as a companion, but also physical AI, opening doors, managing your car. Okay, Fred, back to the radio portion of LG.
Yeah, so I talked about Will.i.am a few moments ago when we were discussing the connection to radio, and Will's really got a fascinating point of view for radio being able to be produced by just diverse groups and individuals, people, but also from a listener standpoint, getting information on the fly, thanks to AI and avatars. And this, again, isn't replacing disc jockeys, but it is providing information about the music that you play. So a song comes on, and maybe your question is, what's another good album that this group has done? Is this group going to be touring my market anytime soon? I mean, all the typical kinds of questions that people have about what they hear that we don't have a very effective way of connecting with. That's really what FYI is all about. So it's using AI, but using AI in a very purposeful, intentional kind of way. And we are fascinated by this and are continuing the conversations. The woman that we met with, Julie Pilot, walked us through all of this. And what we discovered about Julie is she's a radio person. She has worked at some of the radio stations that we have consulted over the years. So let's let Julie take lead here and talk about Radio FYI.
It's really cool because when you think about it, growing up in radio, all the request lines were always loaded up with people trying to talk to the DJ. That doesn't happen anymore, right? And sure, people can comment on social media, but Charlemagne's not going to answer every single post on Instagram the same way there used to be that local connection with radio. And there's been so much consolidation with radio. How are you going to find out if you're in Boise, when tickets go on sale to something, aside from, Googling around? You can do that by talking to FYI's AI if you want to find out how any content or information impacts you locally. There are a lot of people that are allergic to conversations about AI and new technology, and I don't blame them because we didn't handle the last 2 decades very well. When you look at what happened with social media and algorithms and a lack of data privacy, it can be very scary. But we have taken this intentional approach to put humans in the loop and include them with programming. Now, I don't know what's happening at other companies. I've never worked at Spotify. I believe they have a radio feature that shuffles songs that, match your algorithm. And then, like you said, there's a robot voice that comes on and, says, thanks for listening. We got more jams coming up next. It doesn't really feel great, right? But there's been a lot of thought put into this. Like, another thing that's a value that is really meaningful to me, that FYI and Will have intentionally built into our system is representation. So you can choose your own voice. And the personas in FYI were trained mostly off of real people because Will believes that intelligence shouldn't just sound like a librarian or a British voice We have British voices, but we also have amazing voices that are real people from Watts that can explain quantum physics to you, right? And so it adds in a new dynamic. And when you think about robots versus the personas on FYI, I'd love you to try out some of our speech to speech capabilities, because Will I Am is one of the best audio producers in the world. So he's put a lot of thought into it. And it's not only the audio experience, it's their point of view and the guardrails you put on them.
Hey, Paul, real quick, just go back to that slide. Uh, Flip it again.
What?
Just don't let her start talking. There you go. Stop right there. I know you noticed this, but the logo is fascinating as well. Radio mashed up with AI. So, a lot to talk about here. Hopefully, a taste of this. Let's actually
It's really
talk about.
cool.
Oh, thank you. Let's talk a little bit about radio as we
Who
kind
are
of
those
joke.
guys?
Yeah, who are those guys? This was sort of the ad hoc cocktail party this year. In the past few years, there have actually been pretty large gatherings of radio people. That wasn't the case this year. Our best estimate is there were under 20 people at CES out of 148,000 who actively work in the radio business at this point. So it is what it is, but we think you're missing out on a lot of innovation. Yes, there were some old school radio brands like Radio Shack and RCA, with the typical CES nostalgia displays. And then there's 11 Labs, Paul. I mean, talk about the contrast there.
Absolutely. And so, where was radio and why should it attend this? So on Wednesday morning, Fred and Chris and I, we stuck Steve over at the Foundry. Um, we went to the ARIA for C-Space, which is the mashup of media technology and marketing. And we walked into a mosh pit. There were uh, hundreds, if not 1,000 people looking for those little pop-up signs to go upstairs and have a meeting. And as I said to somebody the other day, you could smell the money. Again, I come out of sales, but all these people were there to do media transactions. And I'm not saying buying and selling stations. I'm saying get to know each other's digital offerings, get to know what their upfront plans were, and figure out how they could do business together. So literally lining the walls were all these companies. And we did not see a radio company. We were informed afterwards that iHeart had a very nice presence, and we were really happy to hear that. But overall, it just wasn't great. But who was there? Chris, go ahead.
We have a slide of all the companies that are there, but one company with a massive presence was SiriusXM, who we'll see a video from in just a second. But C-Space has grown every year that I've been going to CES. 10,000 attendees. CTA says that 2/3 of them are high management or C-suite attendees from all the major ad agencies, Deloitte, WPP, all of the NBCs and Foxes of the world. And it's really a place where media brands show off for marketers and advertisers. Execs from NBC, Fox, Disney are talking about their strategies about how they garner audiences in this incredibly fragmented universe. We heard from iHeart Chief Executive Chief Business Officer Lisa Coffey. She talked about the research that was behind their guaranteed human pledge and talked about their initiative to make broadcast ad inventory available programmatically through ad exchanges like the Trade Desk. And then back to SiriusXM, they had a massive footprint, probably 10 to 20,000 square feet, the size of a CVS store, to be honest with you. And their CEO was there, and he revealed that half of their new cars now have a return path for data, so that they have that interactivity and they can see data, they can see listenership, they can show that to advertisers, and their DJs and listeners can now interact through that technology, which is on the dashboard. And we can see what SiriusXM is doing in their sizzle reel, which is right here, that they provided for the event.
2026 is going to be a very big year.
We already have one of the largest audio ecosystems, and it's about to get bigger.
Anything that we do cannot exist without connection. We are in a team sport.
We're transcending podcasting.
We are completely reimagining brain partnerships.
We're your strategic partner for everything audio.
Look out 2026. It's the year of audio.
So you can really get a sense for who's here at C-Space. It kind of reminds me of going to some of the state broadcasting conventions, and you have the engineering path, and then you have the programming or the managerial path. The C-Space path is definitely the managerial path or the sales track for this convention. There aren't any propeller heads or people that are coders in the room. These are people that are doing advertising and making deals, as Paul said. Amazon was there heavily promoting the fact that they are a full funnel advertising tool that can be used to reach the entire marketing funnel. And what you see here is a list of all the companies that were there that were having their hands up saying, hey, look at us, look at us. And if you look at all of these advertisers on here, everyone in red is a marketing brand that didn't exist before COVID. And that includes retail media from Walmart, Albertsons, Target, Kroger. There's Mars from M&M Mars that's there, Marriott International. These are all places where companies are trying to take advertising dollars off the table. So the competition is bigger than it's ever been before. So it wasn't all doom and gloom either there at C-Space. We took a demo from Accelerant. Many of you are familiar with Accelerant as a white label company that helps facilitate digital sales for radio companies and traditional media companies, print and television as well. We saw a demo of their new proposal generator, which they released actually this week. We saw a demo of it a couple of weeks ago, and it has agentic AI in it. His name is Carl. Isn't he cute with that $sign on his cap? On the next slide, we'll see what happens when a sales rep puts in the name of a client they want to create a proposal for. And they're selecting the client's name on the left. There, the AI goes and researches the client, and all of the insights behind the client end up on the right-hand side. That is implemented into the proposal generator. And then on the next slide, you can see the next steps where the AI goes in and then recommends the channels where that client should be advertising based on that marketer's goal or by the client's goal, and then gives you tips on how to pitch it to the individual client. So you can see a situation where all reps are now empowered to pitch YouTube, and they can tell the client why they're pitching YouTube, why they're pitching SEM, why they're pitching SEO, because of an AI agent which has been integrated into the proposal creation tool. And other companies are doing this. This was one of the examples of a tool that we thought really stood out as being really helpful to the sales department, and definitely to take a load off the digital sales manager's back.
I'm the sales guy in the company. We even dragged Fred to this meeting, and as jaded as he was pretty blown away. I'll just summarize it this way: as a guy who hasn't sold a lot of digital and is more traditional in my background, this is digital sales for dummies. And I was pretty impressed. Okay, Fred and Steve, take us into the car.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we are used to CESs where cars are the thing, and they were clearly playing cameo roles this year at CES. And what occurred to us as we actually started moving around the LVCC, there were cars, but they were props for other technology. So if you wanted to show off your AI companion, you might have actually had a car on site just to plug it in there. I mean, to a great degree, that's how Xperi uses cars. They don't represent any particular OEM or manufacturer. They're showing off their tech in somebody else's cars. So we saw some very nice cars. In fact, we even saw some classic cars that obviously jumped out at me because us Detroit guys love Motor City Metal, but in fact this had nothing to do with old Chevrolets. This had everything to do with what's it like to actually put AI technology into an older or classic car. So, as I mentioned before, none of the American car companies were there, and there were really very little representation from Europe as well. But China was all over the place, including GWM, which is a company that we had never heard of, but it stands for, are you ready? Great Wall Motors. And we're going to see a lot from Chinese cars in the next several years. They really look good. They are affordable. I mean, Steve, you bumped into a lot of these, just reactions to the presence of China in the automotive space and what this may mean moving forward.
Well, I think we remember when we normalized relations with China and our company started, putting manufacturing plants there, and we think of the Chinese population, the stereotypical gray uniforms, and the workforce that, does the manual labor. This is an entirely different China. What they're doing technologically, the vehicles, the way that they looked when they're on the floor. Now, there are trade restrictions that keep them from being available in the United States, but they are available internationally. And that we can't be so US centric that we don't recognize that this technology, the development, the price competition, these manufacturers, and that I think is what really struck me when I saw these. They look good, but they are loaded with the latest technological advances. It's not an either or situation now. They're really offering products that are making what we've dreamed of or what we've talked about a reality for the consumer.
The only OEM that we actually ran into, and we had to work hard to do it. If you actually know the footprint of the LVCC, BMW was in the Silver Lot, which is way off campus by South Hall. And there were, I think, 4 or 5 Beamers out there, and it was more about battery technology and that kind of thing. There was only one BMW that actually was drawing attention to what was in the dash. And what was interesting about it is that their whole dashboard interface was about video. Essentially what the passengers are actually doing when they're in the vehicle, or again, of course, it's an EV, so maybe it's going to take 30, 40, 50 minutes to be able to charge it back up. Well, what are you going to do during that time? You got to do something, right? So you could just pull up YouTube, for example, or any number of great music choices. I mean, this was really like looking at just a great display of content in the vehicle that you could amuse yourself with. And of course, we took the opportunity to, take a look at this and even pull up some of our own stuff that lives on YouTube. I mean, I was mesmerized by watching myself do tech survey 8 years ago. Not really mesmerized, but
I can't tell you. I can't
it was
tell
just
you.
so weird to see it in the center stack of a car, right?
It was unsettling to be in a car and listen to Fred in the seat next to me and coming out of the speakers. That's all.
See, I am not like an AI companion, that's for
Right.
sure. All right. Xperi. We've talked about these guys in the past. To a great degree, they've been carrying the radio industry's water at this event all these years. They once again had a tremendous exhibit, most of which was focused on their auto stage platform, which, in our opinion, is just a beautiful, well done way for radio to display in vehicles. By the way, though, Xperi is also focused on video in the dashboard as well. It's not just BMW and a handful of others. So it was always great to see Joe D'Angelo and his crew checking out AutoStage. On the right there, you can actually see the interface on a Harley. So be careful, of course, with what you do with your eyes while you're on that bike, but the interface itself is really cool. And then autonomous. We've talked a lot in the past about autonomous and EVs. What was interesting, I don't think there was an internal combustion vehicle or machine at all of CES. Everything was electrical, whether it was a combine from John Deere or dirt bikes or robo taxis, as you're looking at here. But autonomous has clearly made something of a comeback. And we know this just in the news. We saw it in Las Vegas. There were those Zooks driving around unmanned, at least in the front seat. So the autonomous thing is happening. If you live in a market like Phoenix or San Francisco, Las Vegas now, coming to other markets, autonomous is in fact a thing, and obviously has implications on our business. So we saw an awful lot of autonomous vehicles at CES this year. Again, probably not great for radio, but maybe great for radio from the standpoint of bringing in your own content into these vehicles. Maybe that's something we have to train listeners to do.
So, Steve, you probably experienced a lot of this at the Foundry, the real life application of AI. Let me lead into you by sharing a short video by somebody who's come out of nowhere to become incredibly famous, Jensen Huang from NVIDIA. He's going to talk about software-driven cars. And it's really fascinating. It goes to what Fred was talking about earlier. The whole development time of vehicles used to be 5 years. It's because it was mechanical. And now cars can advance literally overnight because they're software driven.
Today we're announcing Alpamayo, the world's first thinking, reasoning autonomous vehicle AI. Alpamayo does something that's really special. Not only does it take sensor input and activates steering wheel, brakes, and acceleration, it also reasons about what action it is about to take, the reasons by which it came about that action, and then, of course, the trajectory. And we've been working on it for this entire time, and I'm just so happy that the first AV car from NVIDIA is going to be on the road in Q1. And the powerful thing is that we're going to keep on updating it with next versions of Alpamayo and versions after that.
Steve, you're going to get a jacket like that one day, right?
I hope. I can only hope.
Yeah, you also hope you're as rich as him. Okay, let's kick it over to you. Foundry was new this year. It was over at the Fontainebleau, which is also new. And we had no idea what to expect. So Steve, set it up and tell us what you learned from there.
I think the way I would describe it is that I can remember when I was in school and I would have theoretical math or theoretical science, and you would learn the formulas and you would think, when am I going to ever use this? And then at some point in time in your life, you say, oh, this is why I need to solve for X, or, oh, this is why this expands when it gets hot and it changes the door jamb or whatever it is. The Foundry was where it went from theoretical to applied in terms of the information or the concept of AI. So I went in really not knowing what to expect, but I found panels of people talking about not what they're going to be doing in the future, not what this might be in the future, but what is happening now. And an analogy that I used as I was watching Fred's slides about the autonomous cars, all the other trends or things that we've seen at CES in the past, and well, autonomous cars are going to be the big thing, or it was going to be this, it was going to be that. Here's what I believe the difference in AI is versus other technologies. Number one, it's much more democratic. Each of you on this panel, everybody watching today can interact with AI right now by going to an AI agent that's available free to you on your computer. So it's immediately available. You don't have to buy a new car. You don't have to buy a new telephone. You don't have to do any of that stuff. But the second thing is, it doesn't really cause you the consumer habit of saying, I'm going to turn over the driving habit that I've had for 80 years and I'm going to get in the back seat and let somebody steer a car without me knowing. That changes your senses. But AI is like having a 2-lane highway and now they've built an interstate right next to you. It's just much easier. You don't have the difficulty. So it is here. Let's go ahead and talk about some of these lessons and some of the quotes and comments that I heard from the Foundry, because I'll elaborate those on what these are. So AI should be considered additional intelligence or assistant intelligence. I heard a speaker say, stop focusing on the artificial. Think of it as collective intelligence. Stop focusing on what individual words are and think of about how this can accelerate you or give you additional intelligence or assist your intelligence. And I've come to think of AI like a really experienced colleague, the companion that we've talked about earlier. For the conveniences of life, it knows what restaurants I want to go to. It knows what music I like to listen to. It knows that the tire on my car is low. How fast is the air leaking? You need to take care of this immediately, or you can go another 80 miles or whatever the information is. That's the convenience part. But from a business standpoint, the strategic part, the fact that it learns about your thought process, your products, and it starts synthesizing this information, it really does accelerate the use of the knowledge that you have and bring so much more to it. So that's finding number one. Finding number two. When using AI, try it initially, assess the results, and then iterate. I think that, and I've seen this, and anybody that's used AI has done this. You ask a question or you ask for a theory or you want to test something and it comes back and it's great and you're wowed by it, but you're thinking, I wonder if you did this. And so this is an ever learning iterative process, not something that is a magic box that asks a question, but there's so much knowledge that is there. But when you're using it, and I'll just press pause and say to my colleagues in the radio industry, I do not believe the power of AI for the radio industry is artificial voices or replacing humans. I think it is accelerating our connectivity with our listeners and how we can do that in a much deeper way. So I am coming to this game thinking about how do we provide better products and better connections, not how do we save money. That's how I think we have to do it. And I'll give an anecdotal story about using AI on my own personal experience. I mentioned this a few moments ago, collective intelligence. At the team at Q, I got some great colleagues, but by using AI for some of these, it's like we opened the door and expanded to the entire world of knowledge, not just what's contained within our shop. And I think that is, you hear people, pundits and supporters will say on CNBC or other places, AI is going to make more millionaires in a shorter period of time than have ever been made in society before. And that's because the people that use this are going to tap into the collective knowledge, not try to build it all on their own, but they're going to be able to get to the game or solve problems or have solutions that really make people's lives better, and they'll be rewarded for that. Finding number 4. AI is not, this jarred me when I heard this, because as we talked about when we were there, I have fallen victim to gimmicks or gadgets or trends. Uh, the reality is, as someone said from the stage, AI is not a feature upgrade. AI is not a gimmick. AI is a complete reset. It is really going to change. It's as much, as I alluded to someone the other day, my parents were trained on an abacus. When I was in high school, I thought my TI-30 pocket calculator was really cool. And now my phone contains the useful functions of 20 different devices that I had as a child: the telephone, the calculator, the typewriter. That's all contained in a handheld device. Think of this as being as much of a reset as the computer revolution that we lived through. This is going to do the same thing, in my opinion, except much more rapidly because of the collective intelligence. And the last thing that I'll just say anecdotally, I mentioned this and Fred wanted me to tell this story. The radio industry has fears of, is this going to replace people? What's going to happen to people? I just went to my AI agent the other day and I asked a question. I said, here's my background. And it had, I put my bio in there and I said, based on what I'm showing you in the background and what's available on the internet, how vulnerable am I to being replaced by artificial intelligence? And that's the old adage, don't ask a question you don't want to know the answer to. But when I did that, I thought, and it showed me in my path and my experience where some of the things that I spend time on can be replaced by, and here are the functions or the values that I bring that are not replaced by AI. And I would suggest people doing that because that's where we're really going to be in this, but embrace it and find opportunities with it. So going back to answering the question, what was the Foundry? The Foundry took me from thinking in theory. The Foundry took me from thinking in, oh, wow, that's going to be really cool sometime, to saying this is a tool that is there now that's going to be changing and evolving rapidly. But here's how people are doing this every day today. And if I don't get actively involved in that, then I'm going to be one standing on the side of the road as the cars go by. And I just don't want to be in that role.
Steve, when you put your bio into AI, did it tell you one day you're going to get a shiny black coat like Jensen?
No, it didn't mention that.
Okay.
It did not.
I was hoping. Let's have Fred and Chris bring it home. This is all the fun gadgetry stuff. And Chris spent a lot of time with the robots. So Fred, tee it up and bring us home.
Well, yeah, but there's more to robotics than boxing robots, although we'll show you that in a moment. Chris, walk us through this because clearly AI overshadowed a lot of this typical CES kind of stuff. And again, there were all sorts of typically bizarre things, especially in Eureka Park, which I know a lot of you have visited when you've gone to CES. That's kind of where the bootstrap entrepreneurs all gather with, AI litter boxes and things like that. But Chris, can you walk us through some of these innovations, especially the robotics?
Absolutely. On this slide, we're seeing pet cam. So it goes on the collar so you can give instructions to your dog regardless of where it is at, or your cat as well. Right. The Lego Smart Block was revealed at CES this year. You can really see Lego saying, well, the kids are really like the interactivity of the Roblox and the Minecraft. Let's give them interactivity, but let the parents have the satisfaction knowing that the kids are actually doing something with their hands and not staring at a screen. They released the Smart Block. That's going to be out in the market in March. On the next slide, I believe we're seeing robots.
Yes.
And I had the juxtaposition that in the Brunt household over the Christmas holiday, we watched I think we watched 6 of the Star Wars episodes. So we went from seeing a really janky C-3PO to the robots at CES, and there's really no comparison. The zeroth robot here on the left. That black robot is about 1.5 feet tall. It also goes on the market in first quarter this year. It is meant to be an assistant for senior citizens that can help with medications, telling you what button on the remote to press, and then transmitting that information back to the sandwich generation, the kids of the senior citizens, so that they can feel comforted that mom living in her apartment 60 miles away has someone who she can ask questions to when the kids are at work or whatever. The other thing too, on the far right here, you're seeing more AI in kids' toys. And more than one of these displays talked about how you can enhance your child's social emotional development through the AI in these toys, including, I believe it's called Amy, which is the LG display. This was about 5,000 square feet in the LG area and lots of different places. I mean, they had as many accessories for this as they do in an American Girl store. They are going hard and heavy for getting AI into toys. And I'm not sure how this is going to evolve, but it's where we were at CES. And then finally, we talk about janky robots. And then there's robots that can do kickboxing, somersaults, and all sorts of things. I mean, the stability in these things is just really remarkable.
Yeah, the technology has really gotten good. And again, this isn't just about robots for show, but it does give you an idea of how the capabilities have grown.
Yeah, and Marty Supreme has nothing on this robot playing table tennis.
Well, this robot is a lot more personable, I think, right?
Yeah, he's far more likable. You're right about that, Fred. And then finally,
Rock'em Sock'em.
Yeah.
It's Rock'em Sock'em. Do you have FanDuel or DraftKings as a sponsor? Let's do some betting on these robot boxing matches.
Right.
So there you go. Fred, why don't you close it out?
Well, we hope this has been helpful for you. It was a fascinating year for us, no question about that. I mean, we knew going into it that AI would be the star, but we clearly walked away with a completely different perspective and appreciation, as hopefully you've gotten a sense of. We hope you join us next year, not necessarily on our tour, but find a way to get it out there if you haven't visited CES ever before, or it's been some time. And I think clearly the C space part of this is an indicator that as an industry, we need to figure out how to have presence at this particular event. When you look at all the different brands out there doing business with each other, we clearly need representation, a voice, and frankly, a position from which to tell our story. So hopefully that will be the case for CES 2027. If you have any questions or comments on this presentation or anything that you've seen, you can reach us at our email addresses here. We're going to continue to talk about all these issues through the year. That's a big part of what CES is about. It is a table setter for the year, and we're excited about the future. I hope you've gotten that sense. There is a lot to be optimistic about.
Fred, I hate to interrupt, but I'm going to, because I want to thank you and Paul and Chris. We were so glad to be a part of this. This was not all about what we do in terms of the metadata and the vehicles. You guys, for years, have been taking people to the CES to help illuminate the future for the industry. Sometimes we've been more embracing of that than others, but it was such a pleasure to be with you guys. And I want to thank you for what you do for the industry in terms of helping shine that flashlight down what is sometimes a path a bit darker than we would prefer, and helping people see opportunity in that. So thank you for letting us be a part of it this
year. Hey, it's our pleasure. And this sure beats work.
Yes, it does.
No, it was great having you with us this year, Steve. Your perspective is wonderful, And we really just had a lot of fun, a lot of joy going through this. It really is a fun way to spend a few days, and we're glad you could be here. So thank you, for your participation in every respect. We appreciate it. Thanks to all of you for taking some time out of your busy lives to tune in to this. Let us know what your thoughts are and your feedback and all of that. So thank you very much, and hit us up with questions in our email. Be well. Have a great 2026.